Welcome to the Shouty Barky Dog-Cast, a place to calm the chaos for you and your dog. I'm your host, Stephie Guy, and Season 1 is all about sharing quick and easy actions you can take today, whether you're just starting your journey or are already on the path to calm. I know we're all busy, so these episodes are fluff-free with no nonsense. They're quick to listen to and they are quick and easy to action. The rules of participation are simple. Number 1, do as much or as little as you feel able. Number 2, you know your dog better than anyone. Listen with your eyes and listen with your ears, and if they don't want to join in with any of the activities, that's okay. You can do all of this stuff without your dog and everyone will still feel calmer because you will feel calmer. And number 3, relax and enjoy. So without further ado, let me introduce you to today's calming practice. Today, I invite you to think about how much time you spend doing things with your dog and how much time you spend doing nothing. Dogs need an awful lot of sleep and rest and downtime. I recently attended a weekend with Sindor Pangal, who studies Indian free-living street dogs, and she told us that in her study, dogs were asleep for 46% of the time and they were resting for 31% of the time. They were only actually moving for 23% of the time. In one 24-hour period, that's a total of 18 and a half hours either sleeping or resting, and only 3.5 hours actually moving. Now I'm curious, how much time does your dog spend resting, doing nothing much? And how much time do you spend doing nothing much with your dog? Now I don't mean just sitting there scrolling through your phone or playing games or even absent-mindedly petting them. I'm talking about being truly present with a quiet mind and a still body. How often do we actually take the time to just be with our dogs? Switching off our busy brains and doing absolutely nothing can feel like a monumental task. Our nervous systems can get antsy, we can start to fidget, and sometimes it feels like doing nothing is the hardest thing in the world. But here's the thing, the benefits of calming our minds can be astonishing. When we have a calm and quiet mind, we're much better at tuning into our dog's behaviours and our dog's body language. And this awareness gives us the space to notice those little signs that let us know if our dogs might be feeling anxious. And the absolute beauty of this is, if we can cultivate calmness within ourselves, our dogs are much more likely to reflect that calmness back onto us. So how do we start this journey of doing nothing? Doing nothing is terrifying to some of us, especially to those of us like me, with an overactive mind or an overactive body. How on earth do I just sit here and do nothing when the mere thought of it is terrifying? We need strategies, don't we? We need to learn how to do this because that's going to help us and it's going to help our dogs. Well, here's one idea. Today, I invite you to read a gentle story aloud to your dog. Yes, you heard that right. It's a great way to begin quieting both your mind and your body. You might want to grab a simple children's bedtime storybook. I have here a couple of my favourites. I have Schnitzel von Krumm, which this one is Forget Me Not. It's by Lindley Dodd. And it's lovely. It's got rhymes in it, it's got pictures in it, it's a really lovely story. That's going to keep me engaged, it's going to keep me looking at the book rather than looking at my dog, and that's important. I've also got another children's storybook here, which I also like, called We're Going on a Bear Hunt, and this is by Michael Rosen and Helen Oxenbury. And again, it's got some really nice pictures in it, it's got some really easy to read words in it. For me, that's important. I can absolutely get hyper focused on a scientific paper. I can dive deep into all of that stuff, but ask me to read it aloud to somebody, no way, can't do that. But I can read a simple storybook. So find something that you can read, something that you can read aloud. It could be an article from a magazine. It could be an article from a newspaper. One thing I would say about reading from a magazine or a newspaper is to choose something that feels good. Don't choose something from all the horrid things that are going on in the world, because that will affect your calmness and it will affect how you read it. So, do you have a book in mind? Jot it down now and then you don't forget what it's going to be. I find that using a paper-based book or magazine is best, and that's because when I'm reading from my phone, I can easily get distracted by notifications that pop up, and we don't want that. And I can just as easily find myself hopping over to Facebook and scrolling Facebook, and I've forgotten what I was doing in the first place, and we do not want that. We want to stay focused on this task, this do-nothing task. Okay, so before we dive into reading, let's make sure that all of our dogs' needs are met. Let's make sure that they're not hungry, they're not thirsty, that they've had an appropriate amount of exercise, that they've had a bathroom break, that they have somewhere comfy and warm and safe to relax in, somewhere that our dog thinks feels safe, not somewhere that we think. It's got to be our dog that feels safe in that spot. And of course, check in with yourself. Make sure that you're also comfy and warm, that you've had a bathroom break and that you're ready to settle in. Now then, let's settle into that cozy spot. You need to be at a comfortable distance from your dog's safe space, and remember, it's all about your mutual comfort here. If you're happy and safe being close, then if they choose to do so, they can snuggle right up to you. Or they can choose to move to another room. This is all about giving our dogs the choice. So we're not going to go and sit right by their safe space. We're going to sit near it. If we get invited over to it, we can absolutely go closer, but it has to be by invitation. Whatever you decide together is perfectly perfect. And while you read, try to keep your focus on the book and not your dog. Now, this is why it's important for me to have a nice picture book to look at. I need to stay focused on the book and not on my dog, because looking at your dog might invite a conversation. And that's not what we're aiming for here. We're aiming for nice, peaceful, side-by-side, doing nothing activity together. Another top tip is to keep your voice calm and gentle. So no squeaky, excited voices, just tranquil, calm and soothing words. And don't worry if your words get jumbled up or mixed up. Your dog's not going to mind one bit. And another tip that, if you find reading aloud difficult, just describe the pictures in the book. That also is absolutely fine. Just describe what you see. Your dog is going to still pick up on that nice calm words, and you're calm looking at the book and not at them. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear how you think this will go. How will you feel reading aloud? And how do you think your dog will respond? Let me know in the podcast comments section. Is it going to feel weird? I certainly felt a bit odd reading to my dog for the first time. And whenever I'm about to do something that feels a bit strange, I like to sigh away all the stress first by taking a big breath in, snatch an extra breath at the top, and then sigh it all out. And you can hop over to the pre-season episode for more on how and why to sigh it out. If you live alone and you aren't used to using your voice, just warm your voice up a little bit first. If you're feeling a little bit self-conscious, you could always warm up your voice with a pretend phone call. That way you're less likely to accidentally engage your dog in conversation when you get those first words out. If this method of doing nothing doesn't work out for you, don't worry. There are many other ways to do nothing together with your dog. A little while ago, I posted a question about this in the Shouty Barky Dog group over on Facebook. And if you're not in the Shouty Barky Dog group yet, you need to be. I'll pop a link in the comments. Most people don't find doing nothing easy, and the Shouty Barky Dog group members were a great support to each other. So if you're struggling with thinking of a do nothing activity, just hop over there, type do nothing in the Shouty Barky Dog group search box, and the suggestions are going to pop up for you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Shouty Barky Dog-Cast. I hope you find some peaceful moments with your dog as you embark on this journey of stillness together. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit subscribe so that you don't miss any future episodes. Subscribing also helps others to discover the show. And if you're feeling generous, sharing this episode would be fantastic. This podcast is in its infancy, and the more we can get it out there, the better. Until next time, take care and enjoy your quiet moments.